Zoom mic. Testing 1 2 3 1 2 3. Testing.
You need an audio check for me. 1 2 3 4 5. Good afternoon.
Steve, you of us who are Zooming.
Thank you, Arlene, and welcome everyone to the September 15th meeting of the Marshalltown Rotary Club. It's great to have all of you here, both in person as well as by Zoom. Dan Vellinga will lead us in the prayer and pledge.
Good afternoon, Rotarians. If you would please bow your heads.
Thank you.
I pray a blessing on everyone who's gathered here today, that you would help us to have ears to hear and hearts to see, that we would enjoy every moment of this day, that we would take every opportunity to serve and to bring grace to the lives of all around us. This we pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you. We have several guests with us today, which is wonderful. So Val Ruff, would you come up and introduce your guest, please?
My guest today is Craig Schwartz. He is the coordinator for Marshalltown Community Television, which is known as MIC TV. And that's available on, if you're a MediaCom subscriber, that's channel 121-8, or he has a lot of programming available on YouTube as well. So I thought he would enjoy Steve Karlin today.
My guest is my mother, again. It's the only way she gets a free lunch. So I'm not going to introduce her anymore. So Ruth. Now it's the warm program.
We're always glad to have you here, Ruth. I have a guest today, Andrina Helgerson. Andrina works at Emerson, and her family was quite active in Rotary, where she grew up in Ottumwa. Andrina was a youth exchange program participant and a member of Interact when she was in high school. And so she has applied for membership for our club, and I'm very happy to have her here today. Andrina, you want to stand up and wave at everybody? And we have a guest by Zoom. Betty Bowler is going to introduce her guest.
Hi, my guest today is my husband, Steve Bowler. He's sitting here
Betty,
behind me.
we need you to wait a second because the sound isn't on. Sorry. Okay, now.
Okay, you got me now?
Well, we're still working on the sound. In the meantime, Rick, do you have a guest today as well? No, you don't have a guest. Well, this says me, MC. Oh, McCoy? Okay, got it. Okay, we may come back and let you introduce your guest, Betty. We appreciate your inviting somebody to join us. Sorry about the technical difficulties here. While she's working on that, we do have some announcements. As you know, we regularly report on our attendance, and at our September 8th meeting, we had 22 people in person and 14 people on Zoom, so a total of 36 people were present. Also, I have a request from Doris Aragon from the Salvation Army. She is requesting volunteers to help. They've been asked by the Department of Health Services to distribute snacks and water to people that are coming to the FEMA intake sessions starting next week on Tuesday, September 23rd, all the way every day through Saturday and Sunday, 26th and the 27th. So 9 to 7:30. So a lot of time for volunteers. If any of you are interested and willing to get out and just be a help, please let me know, and I'll be happy to pass your name along to Doris. That's an encouraging sound. Should I be encouraged yet? Okay. Betty, are you on deck?
I'm here. Is that
Great.
better?
We can hear you.
Good. Apparently the other people on Zoom could hear me. It's just you who were there couldn't. My guest today is my husband, Steve, and he's a big fan of Steve Karlin, so I asked him to join us for this portion of the meeting.
Great. That's a good reason to invite him. Welcome, Steve. Okay. John Fink has an announcement regarding our warm coat drive.
Thank you, President Gacy. The Marshalltown Rotary Club, again, is being involved in District 6000's Warm Coat Drive. And our goal again this year is 400 coats for needy students in our community. And there should be a pledge form on your table. And I think Kim is going to be sending out the pledge form in an email attachment in the future. And there are a few ways that you can donate towards this. One box of coats costs $100, or you can give any amount towards the project. You can either make a check out to the Rotary Club of Marshalltown, or you can add it to your Rotary Club bill. Look forward to your help in this important project for our community. Thank you.
Thank you, John. And you'd like to hear from people preferably before October, is that right?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, and how many coats? You said 400 coats we want to give away?
That's our goal, is 400 coats.
And do you know the dollar amount that means?
It'll be about $7,000.
Oh, okay, $7,000. Okay, so we know our goal. I hope all of you will continue to support this really worthwhile project. And thanks to Steve, or to John and to Rhonda for heading up that committee. It's time for happy news. If you have some happy news, people appreciate it if you come to the microphone so everybody gets to hear it. Well, I want to give a shout out to Phoebe and John Hermanson Noah, for their success at the recent cross-country meet. So we're proud to have you here as our guests, junior Rotarians. Keep up the good work. Anybody else have happy news?
Mary?
Oh, yes.
Hi, this is Betty. We have really happy news. Our little baby granddaughter, who was born 2 months early, is now very happy, healthy 1-year-old as of this week.
Wow, that's great news. Let's give them a round of applause. Thank you. Todd, we're ready for the news.
Good afternoon, everybody. FEMA has opened its second temporary disaster center in Marshalltown this morning to continue work with the derecho recovery. The drive-up center is going to be open from 9 a.m. and stay open until 6 p.m. It's located behind the Marshalltown VA clinic, and they're asking people to stay in their cars the entire time as a COVID-19 precaution. People are not required to use the drive-up center to get FEMA help. You can call in or register with FEMA online, and going to the drive-through is simply another option now available. A spring tradition at the three state universities falling victim to the pandemic, University of Iowa, University of Northern Iowa, and Iowa State University have each announced plans to shift their spring semester calendars to start later than originally planned. The move includes canceling spring break to try and minimize concerns about students returning to campus and spreading COVID-19. UNI and ISU altered their fall calendars to end the fall semester the day before Thanksgiving, so students would not have to go home and then come back to campus again. The University of Iowa is using the regular fall calendar, but it is switching to all online classes after Thanksgiving. Speaking of which, the university's sick-outs are planned today at the University of Iowa and Iowa State University in protest of in-person learning. A document has been circulating on both campuses for students and faculty to pledge to call in sick from attending or instructing classes. The goal is to move all classes online. Now, it's not known if students or faculty will be penalized by the universities for calling in sick. The Iowa State Daily newspaper reports it received an email from a media relations coordinator at the school stating the university had no comment on the sick out. Iowans who donate blood through LifeServe Blood Center can now also be tested for COVID-19 antibodies. LifeServe spokeswoman Danielle West says the test is looking for previous exposure to the virus from people who are now symptom-free. The antibody tests are being done by the Iowa State University's research laboratory for donors who consent. West says positive test results will be provided to the Iowa Department of Public Health for further research. The blood may also help patients afflicted with COVID-19 to recover more quickly. National Weather Service meteorologist Dirk Peterson says the smoke from the wildfires out west has been getting lofty and pretty high up in the atmosphere and is getting carried into the Midwest by the jet stream. Peterson said, fortunately, the smoke has yet to be lower in the atmosphere, so overall air quality in the Midwest is not bad. Peterson says the sky is going to look hazy and there may be somewhat cooler temperatures because of the smoke cutting into sunlight. The smoke will spread east from Nebraska over Iowa into Minnesota, with some showing up in Missouri. Finally, from the joke book that Mary gave me, which this is great, I don't have to take the blame for bad jokes now because they're all in the book that Mary gave me. So if it's a bad joke, you can blame Mary. A woman was taking an afternoon nap. When she woke up, she told her husband, "I just dreamed that you gave me a pearl necklace. What do you think that means?" He said, "You'll know tonight." That evening, the man came home with a small package, gave it to his wife. Delighted, she opened it to find a book entitled The Meaning of Dreams. You want me to do the, I'm just going to stay up here now. So a lifelong Iowegian, Steve Karlin, is anchor for KCCI News. Steve is a graduate of Iowa State University, but he grew up in Iowa City, so I'll let him try to explain his affiliation for all you Hawkeyes and Cyclone fans. Steve has won many awards for his anchoring and reporting from the Associated Press and the Iowa Broadcasting Association, including a National Edward R. Murrow Award for Best Feature Story, 3 regional Murrow Awards for feature reporting, and 3 regional Emmys for Best Newscast Anchoring. Now, I first met Steve in 2005 when he did a Karlin Covers Central Iowa feature on an old can of Chicken a la King that I was auctioning off on eBay as part of our morning Kickstart bid on Iowa's Best Country Kicks 101.1. Had to be a slow news day that day. I also had the chance to spend more time with Steve last year as he and KCCI were in Marshalltown doing a special on the 2018 tornado. Steve lives in Des Moines with his wife, his 2 children, and 2 dogs. I hope he doesn't get nervous about being on camera via Zoom. Steve is a broadcaster through and through, and he gets what good local broadcasting is supposed to be, and that's why I'm such a fan of his. Please give a warm Marshalltown Rotary welcome to Steve Karlin.
Thank you very much, everybody. I apologize for not being there in person today. We are owned by Hearst Broadcasting, and Hearst is very, very serious about making sure that we don't spread the virus in our communities and among our staff at the station. Prior to the virus, I used to see, 40, 50 people a day. Now I see the same 8 or 10. If you watch, you've noticed that they have the anchors split up. One of us is in the main big studio, and then the other one is in the small studio. And I mean, we're even social distancing in that manner. So it's a very odd time. I was happy to hear the happy news because we need more of that right now. I wish we could just go on every night at 5, 6, 9, and 10 and do nothing but happy news. But there's a lot going on in the world. And we hope that you choose KCCI when it comes time to settle down and see what's going on both in your city, in our state, and across the country. I would like to extend, just my heartfelt, I don't want to say sympathy, that's a bad word, but my best wishes to all the people of Marshalltown, because you folks have been through a tough couple of years, and with the tornado and the derecho, and now everybody's being hit with the pandemic. So I want you to know that we in the newsroom think of you quite often. That's why we send a lot of crews up there, and we need to let people know what's going on in Marshalltown, and we certainly wish you the best in your recovery following the derecho, and in doing everything we all can to get through this derecho. I was very happy when Todd asked me to do this because, as Todd said, we go back to the Chicken a la King incident. And Todd's a great guy. I admire his work on the radio station. Then I also admire his work at the Iowa Speedway because I'm a guy who can't get enough of fast cars. And it's always nice to hear his voice down there and know that I know that guy. He's a cool guy. So Marshalltown, back when I was doing Karlin Covers Central Iowa stories, I came up there and, did stories on places like Taylor's Made Right. And I've forgotten the name of the restaurant that used to be down by the train tracks, where I did a story on the Mile High lemon chiffon pie and, all that stuff. So Marshalltown personally holds a special place in my heart. Always loved traveling up there. And, if we went as far as Marshalltown, we got a free lunch. So that was a big deal. We always ate it up on the company when we went there. But my main job today is, oh, by the way, I want to let you know my father was a Rotarian. So, I know a little bit about Rotary, and he was a Rotarian for quite a long time. So it's a wonderful organization, and it's a real honor to be speaking to you today. But I'm going to talk about my career. As Todd said, I'm from Iowa City, and I've always liked to write. My father was a very good writer. Always said he wanted to be a journalist, but my father instead decided to be a banker. So his career dealt more with numbers than words, but he is a man who is very good with both. I am only kind of good with words. I'm not good with numbers at all. I'm a true journalist. Journalists know nothing about numbers. But my interest in writing really took hold in school in Iowa City, and I had some wonderful English teachers. And the most consequential thing that happened early on is I was on the newspaper staff at my high school. I went to Iowa City High. I had a newspaper called the Little Hawk. Nowadays, it's really good, nationally known high school newspaper. But when I was there, I was made one of the editors basically by default. We had the first semester a 4-person staff. So there were 4 of us putting together a paper that came out every other week, and I learned how to do everything. And one of those things is write. And so did that, had a wonderful experience, and knew that I kind of wanted to direct myself in that area. So when I enrolled at the University of Iowa after graduating from high school, I enrolled as a journalism major, and I was going to work on the newspaper there. And then a friend told me about the student radio station. And so I, just on a lark, worked at the student radio station. And I guess, as the old saying goes, I really like the sound of my voice. And so I did a lot of broadcasting. I DJ'd a little bit and kind of started getting into news. I'm a big Hawkeye fan growing up in Iowa City, and so I really enjoyed doing things on Hawkeye sports. But after a while of doing that, I realized I wanted to get into TV. And back when I went to school, there were 2 stations in the country. Now there's only one. There were 2 stations in the country, or 2, excuse me, colleges in the country that own their own network affiliate television stations, meaning that you can work at those schools at the television station while you're taking classes. And those 2 schools were the University of Missouri and Iowa State. And so I looked at Missouri and I looked at Iowa State, and I talked with the people at Iowa State and talked with people at Missouri. And my father made a deal. There were 4 of us kids. I'm the 3rd of 4, and I figure that's why I got into TV, because I was a true middle kid and I need the attention. So I guess that's the basis of my television career. But when I told him about the tuition at the University of Missouri, which was about 4 times out of state tuition what the Iowa State tuition was, because at first he said, why would you want to go to Iowa State? Hawkeye, Dad? And I said, well, Dad, because the tuition is like 1/4 of what it is at the University of Missouri. And my father said, looks like you're a cyclone. So it was a great move. I moved up there. Within 3 weeks, I was on the radio, not only at the student station, but KASI radio. They had an opportunity for students to do news there. And so I worked there. I was on the student radio station, and with 3 months, I was on TV. And this opportunity isn't there for Iowa kids anymore because, the university during the farm crisis, or immediately after the farm crisis, of course, was in a revenue crunch. So the state sold WOI, the ABC affiliate here in Central Iowa. And, all that opportunity just went out the window for any young kid who still wants to get into television news. And it kind of irks me that, the only place you can get that kind of an education anymore is at the University of Missouri. We should have that here. But nevertheless, those decisions are made by people who are much smarter than me. So after 3 months, I was on TV. And the way that worked is you got up really, really early in the morning and you wrote copy for the morning newscast. And then after a while, that it's a situation where I think your instructors look at you and they see who's kind of able to handle some things more than others, and they make recommendations. Well, one of my instructors recommended to the news director at WOI that I was progressing well through my classes. I was doing a decent job of getting stories put together. And so he recommended me to the news director as someone who might be able to do some fill-in reporting. So that came about. I interviewed like a regular job interview, and I got the job. So very first day, the way they did this is you would follow a reporter around for 2 days, and then the reporter, the real live reporter who's making money doing this, would follow you around and advise you the next 2 days. Well, the first 2 days, my reporter was with me. The second 2 days, he called in sick. And so news producers, they don't care. I mean, if they have a warm body, you're supposed to be able to do stories, and you're supposed to be able to, take a whole glob of information and turn it into a minute 15, minute and a half, totally digestible, concise piece of news. Well, I was still pretty much a rookie at that. And so I got a tongue lashing that day by the evening producer that first day. And I just looked at her and said, Diane, to be real honest with you, I have no idea what I'm doing. And so went home, got a good night's sleep, came back the next day. He had called in sick again. And so I was out on the road, and that's kind of how my career kicked off. So I was fortunate enough, I worked about a year and a half part-time as a reporter. And what they would also let us do in the mornings is there were 5-minute news cut-ins. We have them at KCCI. You know, they're at 7:05, 7:25, 8:25, 8:55, you know, and that's the last one. And so we would get to do these 5-minute cut-ins. And when, you know, you have never anchored anything before, it's like the biggest thing in the world, you know. It's like, wow, I get to do my 5 minutes. And my parents were living in Newton at the time. My dad was running a bank over there. And so like my parents could see me on TV, and that was pretty cool. So finished up my time at Iowa State. And then I was hired what they called in a temporary full-time capacity. They liked my work. They wanted me to stay, but they didn't have a full-time position for me. So I continued to report. I was doing about 20 to 30 hours a week. And no, excuse me, this was my temporary full-time capacity. So I was doing 40 hours a week. And then this is kind of a strange thing, but nevertheless, it's something the job taught me. A female reporter left. And so I went into the news director's office and I said, I'd like to apply for the open position. And he said, he was foolish enough to say to me, Steve, we can't hire you because you're a man. I need to fill a female position with another female. Well, I knew that wasn't right, because, you know, I've done stories on equal opportunity employment, right? So I called the EOE office at Iowa State, and I had a job the next day. So I worked there full-time for about a year and a half, and I became what was called in those days the night beat reporter. So I took the lead local story every night at 5 and 10, because that's when we had our newscast at Channel 5. And I was live. So I did a lot of live shots. Well, come about 1989, there was a position open at KCCI, and I applied for it. And I ended up getting the job, but it was a 3-day-a-week reporting job and weekend weather. Mind you, I had only taken one meteorology class at Iowa State, because my advisor said, you better take this so you know the basics, because you never know, you might have to do the weather. Well, I did. And so I was home with the flu, really, really sick. And Dave Busick, who was the news director at the time, called me up and said, Steve, we want you to come in and do a weather audition today. And I said, Dave, I'm really sick. I can't, you know, I can hardly stand up. And he said, if you really want this job, you'll be here and you will do the audition. I still have the tape of that audition. I mean, my voice is about 10 octaves lower. I am as white as a sheet, and I have no idea what I'm doing in front of a weather wall. Well, you may remember Connie McBurney. For some reason, Connie McBurney saw that audition tape and said, he's the guy. And so then I was a weekend weather guy. Long story short, ended up doing weekend weather for about 2 years. And it was the best training I ever had in TV, because really, you know, the men and women who, they're all meteorologists now, thank goodness, because we put our lives in the hands of professionals, as opposed to some guy. There was a promo they put on of me. Steve Karlin grew up observing Iowa weather. Yeah, I did, and living in it too. But after a couple of years, you know, they had me move over to another slot, and the best compliment I ever got about my weather forecasting ability was from John McLaughlin, former KCCI meteorologist, who said, "Yeah, you know, Steve, you weren't bad." I thought that was really good. But after a couple of years, I had the first of what has been a real honor in my career. For some reason, the powers that be at the station, when Paul Rhodes, the then longest active anchor at any one television station in the country at 37 years, decided to retire. So they needed a partner for Kevin Cooney. And they said, Steve, we want you to do the 6 o'clock news. And then Kevin and a woman by the name of Sue Mason would do the 10. I mean, I was flabbergasted. I mean, I had no inkling that this was coming. So it was just, like I say, one of my career highlights. And that led to the floods of '93, when we decided to start our 5 o'clock newscast. And then I went on an 18-year run, probably the best 18 years of my career. Everything's fantastic now, but I really had fun doing this. I did the 5 o'clock news, and I reported every day. So I'd come in the morning, I'd get a story idea, I'd hit the street, go out with a photographer, and I would travel all over central Iowa, and I would do stories. And then for 14 of those 18 years, it was after Dana Karlin retired, and they wanted somebody to do features. I got that job. And I'll tell you, after doing all these stories with people who don't want to talk to you, people who are trying to hide things from you, people who are angry many times when you're knocking on their front door or you're calling them to seek comment about something, because, I covered everything. It was a real, nice jolt in the arm, and kind of established, my career in my mind as something that was really fantastic, because I got to do Karlin covers Central Iowa stories for 14 years. And what I mean by, people are totally different when you do features is that you call them up, they're happy to hear from you. You walk to the front door, they welcome you in, and they say, hey, take a look at what I'm into. Okay, this, many times I do stories on collections, or, somebody who did some interesting kind of art, or somebody who had like this expansive garden, and I traveled all over doing that. So I got into some of the smallest little towns and burgs here in central Iowa, and it was just fantastic. And the best part of that was when I would ask for ideas, when I would ask people for ideas, I would be flooded with, of course, this is just, before we really started using computers totally, I would be flooded with letters, with email, with phone calls from people who had ideas about somebody in their family or somebody they knew who had something interesting going on in their lives. And the best part of those stories for me, and I hope this is what came across to the viewers when one of these stories ran, and I would do as many as 3 or 4 in a week, is that it made me feel proud to live in this state, to be a lifelong resident of this state, to shine the light on people for doing something interesting, for being interested in something that not everybody's interested in. And I think it resonated with a lot of people simply because of the response I got. Plus, I was able to work with, we have always had a fine photography staff at KCCI. I worked with the very best photographers, some of the best photographers, and I'm not exaggerating, in the country. And we won a lot of awards for our stories, but I will tell you that we won awards many times because I was riding on their coattails, not because they were riding on mine. it's because the pictures were so beautiful and they were so incredibly well edited that, you know, there are some awards we couldn't help but win. Let me put it that way, because these men and women were so good. But after doing that for 14 years, everybody talks about a Q score. That's basically your popularity quotient in a market. So which they never let us know because they're afraid that we'll use it in salary negotiations. We can never know how popular we are. So they came to me and they said, we would like you to move to our morning show, because that's the only place in television these days that audience and revenue are expanding, and we need you to move there, and we think you can help us. And so I did that for 4 years, and I got out of bed at 2:30 in the morning. And I will tell you, as far as anchoring a newscast goes, which I love to do, totally different skill set than reporting, but after doing that for 4 years, I was just about worn out. It did not, early mornings and I did not jive at all. So when Kevin Cooney decided to retire, I was grateful and very thankful and very honored when they came to me and they said, Steve, we would like you to take over the evening newscast for Kevin. And I've had just an unbelievably charmed career. I have been in the right place at the right time at this television station so many times in my career. I just can't even believe it. And I've never wanted to go anywhere else. I've had opportunities, but those opportunities would take me away from home. This is home. This is where I want to be. You people in Central Iowa, you folks are the ones who I want to do my job for. And you're the people I serve on a daily basis at 5, 6, and 10. And KCCI, since the day we signed on in 1955, has been the most watched television station in Central Iowa. And that is because you folks trust us. And we do not take that trust lightly. Journalistic standards have always been high at KCCI, and we do the best we can with the facts every day. And so I thank you very much for watching. I would love to open up for questions. I'm not sure if we're able to do that via Zoom, but I've had a lot of fun talking to you today. And if anybody has any questions, I would be very happy to answer them. Don't be bashful. I knew I could get somebody.
Well, Steve, we really appreciated your joining us today, and we appreciated your comments, and it was very fun and interesting to learn about your career. So please join me in giving him a round of applause. Something you may already know is that Rotary International is well known for their polio eradication efforts. And in our club, we have a tradition of making a donation in the name of each of our guest speakers to that effort. So we will be making a donation on your behalf. So as our way of saying thank you.
Oh, thank you. That's incredible. I appreciate that.
Very good. Next week's program will be presented by Carson King. You might remember Carson as the person who held up the sign in the back of the Sports Center broadcast saying, please send money, I need more, was it Bud Light? I forget what kind of light beer it was, Busch Light, and raised $1 million. So we're looking forward to hearing him as well. If you would please rise and join me in reciting the four-way test. Of the things we think, say, or do, first, is it the truth, Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build goodwill and better friendships? And fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned? We are adjourned.